Joe, let me start with you at the White House first. When we spoke yesterday, President Biden was meeting with CEOs in person and virtually to really put pressure on Mitch McConnell. So did the president get his way?
That's a great question, David. I would never try to get in the head of Senator Mitch McConnell, but the timing was remarkable. It was only a short time after I left that meeting with other reporters as the president met with CEOs of the big money center banks and some other agencies that we started seeing headlines on the terminal from our Capitol Hill team about this deal. The president did reiterate, as he's been making this point a lot lately, much like the Democratic leadership on Capitol Hill, that the debt ceiling is like a credit card. It's covering past spending, not his future infrastructure or reconciliation plans. And then we heard from the CEOs, as I mentioned, of some of these banks, including Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan, of course, who spoke to the morality of the issue at hand here. He said the world is watching and spoke to the impacts not only on the markets, not only on those with retirement accounts, which he said were cascading on a daily basis in the wrong direction, but he spoke to consumers as well, saying that no one would be spared from this. I wouldn't suggest that Mitch McConnell was shamed into making a deal here, David, but it was only about an hour after we left that meeting that we started hearing about this potential deal. So President Biden may have accomplished something here by pulling all of these folks together. And that's where we stand today as the president prepares to leave for Chicago to talk about an entirely different topic, David, and we'll get to that a bit later.
Yeah, we will cover that later in the program, actually. But in the meantime, let's turn to Emily Wilkins, who really covers Congress for us. So, Emily, I guess my question is, who blinked here? There are reports that actually maybe Mitch McConnell blinked. Is that right?
I mean, you can argue that Mitch McConnell blinked. Senator Elizabeth Warren would certainly agree with you. You can also argue that Chuck Schumer took a deal that was offered to him that not every member of his party was super happy with here. But I think the real thing to do right now is to step back and realize that even though we now have more time for lawmakers to figure out what the path forward is, the dynamics around this debate have not changed. Mitch McConnell is still saying that Republicans will not support a long-term raising of that debt limit. Senator Chuck Schumer is still saying that Democrats won't do it through reconciliation unless one of them shifts their position. We are just setting ourselves up to have this exact same debate when we get to December 3rd, which is the date that they are planning to raise the limit until. And if December 3rd sounds familiar, you might remember that's also the day that they've passed funding to fund the government until. And so you're going to be dealing with both this debt limit as well as a looming government shutdown on December 3rd unless progress starts being made quickly within the next few weeks.
So, Joe, what about that? Emily really put her finger on it. A lot is building up on December 3rd. You made the analogy to a credit card bill. We didn't get it paid. We didn't even get it deferred. We just got a 60-day grace period, a little less than 60 days. So how are they going to get that all done? Are we in any better position to get all these things accomplished? That is, they're going to have to refund the government and extend the debt ceiling and do infrastructure and do the Build Back Better plan. Any position better to get that done by December 3rd than we were yesterday?
Well, not listening to the way you just asked that question, they bought themselves a little bit more time, but we're still headed for a very difficult Thanksgiving dinner here at the family table, David. It's interesting, though, Mitch McConnell clearly sensed an opportunity as he went out with a statement in the middle of the day yesterday saying the Republican Party is the only party, not the Democratic Party, with a plan to avoid default. So he can take credit for this while also setting up his Democratic colleagues for a massive collision of deadlines at the beginning of December. We're going to do this all over again, David.
Well, we look forward to that, Joe. We'll do it with you. But, Emily, in the meantime, how does this play out, do you think, politically for these members of Congress, Senate and House of Representatives? We do, after all, have an election coming up next year.
I mean, politics is so much at the center of this and what message gets sent. Republicans don't want to be seen as helping to raise the debt limit because they want to be the party of fiscal conservatives. But even with Democrats, you see them saying we don't want to raise it in this reconciliation process because that means they can't just say, oh, we'll raise the debt limit until 2022. They actually have to put a price tag on it. And they're expecting that price tag to show up in campaign ads in the midterms. And so this is a lot of politicking going on here, a lot of concern about the future of the Senate. I mean, you look at what races are going to be up, and you see that Republicans have the chance to take the Senate. Democrats have the chance to hold the Senate. You've got that 50-50 divide here. And the politics that are being played, they're similar to what we've seen in the past with the debt limit. And it really just seems like both sides are still staring down one another, daring the other one to blink.